Here's a question worth $450 of your hard-earned money. What if you're about to make the biggest gaming mistake of 2025? Right now, thousands of gamers are wrestling with the same brutal choice. Nintendo Switch 2 or Steam Deck? Two devices, two completely different gaming philosophies. And honestly, picking the wrong one doesn't just waste your money, it locks you into an ecosystem that might not match how you actually want to play games for the next 5 years. I'm going to tell you something controversial. The better device probably isn't the one you think it is, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why. But here's the deal. Skip even one section, and you'll miss the critical insight that determines which device actually fits your life. So let's dive in. Look, I get it. You've probably watched 5 comparison videos already, you've read the specs, seen the trailers, scrolled through Reddit debates at 2 in the morning, but here's what nobody else is telling you. This decision isn't actually about hardware specifications or benchmark numbers. It's about something much more fundamental, and understanding this one thing will save you from making an expensive mistake. In the next 15 minutes, I'm breaking down the real-world differences that actually impact your gaming experience. Not theoretical performance numbers, but genuine day-to-day usage that reviewers with free review units never talk about. We're covering the hidden costs that add up over time, the ecosystem lock-in that nobody warns you about, and the single biggest factor that should drive your decision. Hint, it has nothing to do with processing power. And stick around until the end, because I'm revealing a third option that most people don't even consider, but might actually be the smartest move you can make right now. Sounds good? Then smash that like button, subscribe if you're serious about making smart gaming decisions, and let's get into this properly. Let's travel back to March 2017 for a second, because understanding why the original Switch succeeded is crucial to understanding what Nintendo's trying to do with the Switch 2. Picture this. Nintendo had just face-planted with the Wii U, losing billions and watching their reputation crumble. The gaming press was writing obituaries. Analysts were suggesting Nintendo should just make mobile games and call it quits. Then Nintendo unveiled the Switch, and the industry collectively scratched its head. A tablet that slides into a dock, detachable controllers that feel tiny in adult hands, mobile-level processing power in an era of 4K gaming. Sony and Microsoft were building beast machines targeting hardcore gamers, and Nintendo showed up with what looked like a fancy iPad with controllers. But here's where genius happened. Nintendo understood something profound about human behavior that Sony and Microsoft completely missed. People don't want to choose between couch gaming and portable gaming. They want both. They want to start Breath of the Wild on their TV, then seamlessly continue playing in bed without losing progress. That simple insight, that freedom to play anywhere without compromise, unlocked a massive market that nobody else was serving. The Switch sold over 150 million units. It became the third best-selling console of all time. It rescued Nintendo from irrelevance and proved that innovation in gaming doesn't require raw power. It requires understanding what players actually want. And what they wanted was flexibility, amazing exclusive games you couldn't play anywhere else, and a device simple enough that your grandmother could understand how it works within 30 seconds. Fast forward to 2021. Valve, the mysterious company behind Steam and Half-Life that releases products whenever they feel like it, dropped a bombshell announcement. They were building a handheld gaming PC. And not just some underpowered streaming device, a legitimate full-powered gaming PC that fits in your hands and runs your entire Steam library natively. The PC gaming community exploded with excitement, and for good reason. For decades, PC gamers watched console players enjoy portability while being chained to their desks. Sure, gaming laptops existed, but they were expensive, bulky, and still required sitting down with a keyboard and mouse. The Steam Deck promised something revolutionary: true PC gaming freedom without compromise or streaming lag. Valve's approach was radically different from Nintendo's. Where Nintendo builds closed ecosystems with curated experiences, Valve said, "Here's a portable PC, do whatever you want with it. Want to install Windows? Go ahead. Want to run emulators and play retro games? Nobody's stopping you. Want to install Epic Games Store or Xbox Game Pass? Have at it." This wasn't a console pretending to be open, it was genuinely open hardware running genuinely open software. And gamers responded powerfully. The Steam Deck sold over 3 million units in its first 2 years, not Switch numbers obviously, but absolutely remarkable for a first-generation product in a new category with minimal marketing. More importantly, it proved the market existed for premium handheld PC gaming. It validated the idea that people would pay $400 to $650 for portable PC experiences, even without exclusive games or Nintendo's brand recognition. So now we're at this fascinating moment. Nintendo's releasing the Switch 2, clearly having learned from the Steam Deck's success, bigger screen, more power, mature aesthetic. Meanwhile, the Steam Deck has established itself as the go-to device for PC gamers who want portability. These devices are about to collide head-on in the marketplace, and your wallet is caught in the middle. Let's figure out which one deserves your money.
Alright, let's talk about what we actually know about the Switch 2, because Nintendo's been playing their cards close while carefully managing hype. The official first-look trailer gave us tantalizing glimpses without revealing everything, which is classic Nintendo strategy. Show just enough to build excitement while saving surprises for the full reveal event. First thing you'll notice, it's noticeably larger. We're looking at an 8-inch screen compared to the original's 6.2 inches. That's approximately 30% more screen real estate, which sounds modest on paper but feels substantial in practice. Imagine reading text in games like Xenoblade without squinting, or appreciating environmental details in Zelda games with much better clarity. Screen size genuinely transforms handheld gaming experiences in ways that numbers don't capture. The Joy-Cons have evolved significantly. They're bigger, which addresses comfort complaints from people with larger hands who found the originals cramped during extended play sessions. More crucially, Nintendo appears to be implementing magnetic attachment instead of the slide rail system, which should dramatically improve durability. And industry insiders strongly suggest they're using Hall effect sensors for the analog sticks, which would essentially eliminate the infamous Joy-Con drift that plagued millions of original Switch owners. Under the hood, expectations point toward a custom NVIDIA chip built on newer architecture, likely supporting DLSS technology. For those unfamiliar, DLSS uses artificial intelligence to upscale lower-resolution images to higher resolutions with minimal performance cost. This means games could run at 720p or internally, but display at 1080p or even 4K when docked, looking sharp while maintaining smooth frame rates. It's genuinely impressive technology that could finally close the performance gap between Switch and competing platforms. Battery life remains somewhat mysterious, but the larger physical size suggests room for a bigger battery. However, more powerful hardware also consumes more energy, so we're likely looking at similar runtime to the current OLED model, probably 5 to 9 hours depending on what you're playing. Demanding AAA titles will drain it faster, while indie games and older ports will sip power gently, potentially lasting an entire day of casual play. Storage will likely start at 128 GB or 256 GB with microSD expansion support, which is important because modern games are enormous. A single AAA release can easily consume 30 to 50 GB. You'll definitely need to budget for additional storage cards if you plan on building a substantial digital library, which adds to your total investment beyond the console's base price. Now let's examine the Steam Deck thoroughly, because understanding what makes this device special requires understanding what Valve was actually trying to accomplish. They weren't asking, how do we compete with Nintendo? They were asking, how do we deliver the complete Steam experience in a portable format without compromising what makes PC gaming great? The Steam Deck runs on AMD's custom APU, essentially a Zen 2 processor paired with RDNA 2 graphics architecture, which is the same technology powering PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series consoles. This is legitimate modern gaming power in a handheld device. We're talking about hardware that can run Elden Ring, Cyberpunk 2077, Baldur's Gate 3, and other demanding current-generation titles portably. Sure, you'll need to adjust settings and accept 30 to 40 frames per second in graphically intensive games, but the mere fact that it's possible is remarkable. The screen measures 7 inches diagonally at 1280 by 800 resolution, and Valve currently offers 2 versions, the original LCD model and the newer OLED variant. The OLED version features HDR support, significantly better battery life, and a screen that's genuinely gorgeous. Deep blacks, vibrant colors, and overall image quality that makes games pop in ways the original never achieved. If you're buying a Steam Deck today, the OLED version is absolutely worth the price premium for the improved experience. But raw specifications only tell part of the story. The real magic emerges when you explore the software flexibility. The Steam Deck runs Steam OS, which is built on Linux but designed to feel like a console interface for most users. You see your Steam library, select a game, and play. Simple as that. But if you want to dive deeper into customization, the possibilities become nearly endless and genuinely exciting for tinkerers. You can install Windows and transform this into a legitimate handheld PC capable of running any Windows software. You can install emulators and access decades of gaming history from dozens of platforms. You can add Epic Games Store, GOG, or Xbox Game Pass and access those entire libraries. You can even connect an external GPU dock and use it as a proper gaming desktop when you're home. The Steam Deck doesn't just play games. It's a full-fledged computer that happens to have gaming controls built directly into the chassis. This flexibility naturally comes with trade-offs. Not every Steam game runs flawlessly on the deck. Valve implemented a verification system, verified, playable, unsupported, unknown, to help you understand compatibility expectations. But it's not foolproof. Some games struggle with anti-cheat software. Some have tiny UI elements that are difficult to read on a 7-inch screen. And some simply weren't optimized for this specific form factor, requiring you to spend time tweaking settings to achieve smooth performance. Battery life represents the deck's weakest point. Playing demanding AAA titles, you're looking at 2 to 3 hours maximum runtime, sometimes less if you push graphical settings. More casual indie titles can stretch it to 5 or 6 hours, but you're definitely not getting all-day gaming sessions without carrying a substantial power bank. The OLED version improves this somewhat with a larger battery and more efficient display technology, but it still can't match the Switch's superior battery endurance. Let's address the most important question. What can you actually play on these devices? Because the most powerful hardware in the world means absolutely nothing if there aren't games worth playing. This is where the Switch versus Steam Deck debate becomes genuinely fascinating because it's not simply about quantity versus quality. It's about what kind of gaming experiences you personally value most. Nintendo's strategy emphasizes quality and exclusivity over sheer volume. You literally cannot play the latest Zelda game on any hardware except Nintendo devices. The same applies to Mario, Metroid, Kirby, Splatoon, Animal Crossing, Pokémon, Fire Emblem, Xenoblade Chronicles, and dozens of other beloved franchises that define Nintendo's identity. These aren't just games, they're cultural phenomena that transcend gaming. When a new mainline Zelda or Mario releases, the entire gaming world stops and pays attention. That's the immense power of truly exclusive content that competitors cannot replicate. However, let's be realistic about Nintendo's third-party situation. While it's improved considerably over the years, you're still not getting the latest multi-platform releases running at their absolute best. When major titles like Hogwarts Legacy or Mortal Kombat come to Switch, they're visibly downgraded with lower resolutions, reduced frame rates, and compromised visual effects. You're often playing games months or even years after they launch on competing platforms, and you're experiencing technically inferior versions. For some players, that trade-off is acceptable for portability and Nintendo's exclusives. For others, it's an absolute deal-breaker. The Steam Deck's library is an entirely different beast. You have access to over 50,000 games on Steam alone, plus whatever you can install from other storefronts, plus decades of emulation possibilities. We're discussing the entire history of PC gaming at your fingertips, Classic titles from the 1990s, beloved indie darlings, massive AAA blockbusters, experimental art projects, visual novels, strategy epics, simulations, and literally every genre imaginable across multiple decades of gaming evolution. Steam's legendary seasonal sales mean you can build a massive library spending relatively little money. We're talking 50 to 90% discounts on games that are merely a few years old. Patient gamers can acquire hundreds of quality titles for the price of maybe 10 full-price Nintendo releases. The value proposition for budget-conscious gamers is genuinely remarkable and shouldn't be underestimated when calculating total ownership costs over several years. Let's discuss something critical that most comparisons completely ignore: the hidden costs and ecosystem lock-in that dramatically affect your actual long-term spending. Because the sticker price is just the beginning of what you'll actually pay to own and enjoy these devices over the next 3 to 5 years of active use. The Switch 2 will likely launch around $400 to $450 for the base model. That's your initial investment. But now, consider games. New Nintendo releases typically cost $60 to $70 and rarely drop significantly in price even years after launch. Nintendo games hold their value remarkably well, which is great for resale but terrible for your wallet when buying. If you purchase 6 games annually at an average of $50 each, that's $300 per year, totaling $900 over 3 years just for software. Add Nintendo Switch Online, which currently costs $20 annually for basic service or $50 for the expansion pack that includes retro games and DLC content. Let's assume the Switch 2 continues this model. That's $50 yearly, totaling $150 over 3 years just to access online multiplayer and cloud saves, which feels somewhat outdated in 2025 when PC gaming includes these features freely. You'll inevitably want accessories: a screen protector to prevent scratches, a carrying case for travel protection, possibly a Pro controller for comfortable docked gaming, and additional storage cards. Budget another $100 to $150 for these essentials. When you calculate everything — console, games, online service, accessories — you're looking at roughly $1,600 to $1,800 total cost over 3 years of ownership. That's the real investment required for Switch 2 gaming. The Steam Deck starts at $400 for the base LCD model, but I strongly recommend the $550 OLED version for the dramatically better screen and improved battery life. That's your starting point. Games on Steam are significantly cheaper and go on sale constantly throughout the year. If you're strategic about timing purchases during seasonal sales and watching deal aggregator sites, you can build an enormous library, spending maybe $100 to $150 annually. Call it $450 over 3 years for a substantial collection. There's no online subscription requirement. Steam's features — friends lists, voice chat, remote play, cloud saves, family sharing — are all included at no additional cost. You're not paying ongoing fees to access multiplayer in games you already own. Obviously, individual games might have their own subscriptions or microtransactions, but the platform itself doesn't charge you for basic online functionality that should be standard. You'll still want accessories. A protective case and screen protector run about $50 combined. Maybe a dock if you want to connect to your TV, adding another $50 to $100 depending on quality. Total investment over 3 years, approximately $1,100 to $1,200. That's roughly $500 to $600 less than the Switch 2 over the same period, which is significant savings that could buy an entirely different gaming device or dozens more games. Let's get practical and discuss actual real-world situations, because abstract comparisons don't help you understand which device actually improves your daily life. I'm going to walk through specific scenarios and honestly tell you which device wins in each situation based on real-world usage patterns. Scenario 1. You're a parent buying a gaming device for your family. You have kids ranging from young children to teenagers. You want something durable, appropriate for various ages, and simple enough that everyone can use it without constant technical support. Winner. Switch 2 absolutely dominates here. Nintendo's parental controls are comprehensive and easy to configure. The game library is broadly family-friendly with clear age ratings. The device is designed specifically for sharing with multiple user profiles, and the interface is intuitive enough that even young children can navigate it successfully. The Steam Deck, despite its many strengths, is fundamentally built for mature users who understand system management and troubleshooting. Scenario 2. You're a hardcore gaming enthusiast who plays everything from competitive shooters to massive RPGs to experimental indie titles. You care deeply about graphics quality, frame rates, and having access to the latest releases on day one. You don't mind spending time tweaking settings to optimize performance. Winner. Steam Deck wins convincingly. The library is exponentially larger, games are generally cheaper, and you have access to the bleeding edge of what's releasing across the entire gaming industry. Yes, you miss Nintendo's exclusive franchises, which genuinely hurts, but the sheer volume and variety of experiences available through Steam and other PC storefronts absolutely dwarfs what Nintendo offers. Plus, raw graphical fidelity and performance are objectively better on Steam Deck for multi-platform titles. Scenario 3. You travel frequently for work or have a long daily commute. You need something with excellent battery life that lasts an entire cross-country flight, fits comfortably in your bag, and provides engaging gaming that makes time disappear without causing motion sickness or eye strain. Winner. Switch 2 edges ahead primarily due to superior battery life. You're getting 6 to 8 hours of gameplay easily, especially with less demanding titles, which covers even the longest domestic flights without requiring charging. The Steam Deck will die halfway through most flights, even with conservative settings and brightness reduction. However, the Steam Deck's sleep mode is exceptional, allowing you to pause instantly and resume exactly where you left off days later without any loading. If battery life is your absolute priority, choose Switch 2. If you don't mind carrying a quality power bank, Steam Deck remains viable. Scenario 4. You're on a tight budget and need to maximize value from every dollar spent. You can't afford buying games at full price, and you need your hardware investment to last several years without requiring upgrades or expensive accessories. Winner. Steam Deck. But this requires explanation. The upfront cost is higher, $400 to $650, depending on which model you select. However, Steam's frequent sales mean you'll build a massive library, spending comparatively little. No ongoing subscription fees save you $20 to $50 annually. And because it's essentially a PC in terms of architecture, you're not locked into a single generation. When Steam Deck 2 eventually launches, your existing games don't become obsolete or require repurchasing. Let's discuss backward compatibility and long-term value, because what happens to your existing game investments matters enormously. If you've already spent hundreds or thousands of dollars building a gaming library, that history profoundly affects which device makes sense for you personally. Nintendo has officially confirmed that Switch 2 will be backward compatible with original Switch games, which is fantastic news for the 150 million people who already own Switch consoles. Your digital library carries forward seamlessly. Your physical game cartridges work in the new system without issues. Your save data transfers over. This represents Nintendo learning from past mistakes. Remember how the Wii U couldn't play 3DS games? Or how the Switch completely abandoned the entire 3DS and Wii U libraries? Those decisions frustrated longtime fans and fragmented the community unnecessarily. However, there's nuance here. We don't know yet whether Switch 2 will offer enhanced modes for original Switch games, things like higher resolutions, improved frame rates, or faster loading times. Sony and Microsoft both implemented these features for backward-compatible games on their new consoles, significantly improving older titles. If Nintendo implements similar enhancements, the value of your existing library increases dramatically. If Switch 2 simply runs Switch games identically to the original hardware, the backward compatibility is functional but not exciting. The Steam Deck situation is fundamentally different and remarkably straightforward. Your entire Steam library, everything you've ever purchased on PC going back decades, instantly works on the Deck. That Half-Life you bought in 2004 boots right up perfectly. That obscure indie game from 2012, ready to play. The continuity is seamless because you're not moving between generations or platforms. It's the same ecosystem, just different hardware. This is the profound advantage of PC gaming's open architecture. Steam's cloud saves work flawlessly, letting you start games on your desktop PC, continue on the deck during your commute, and finish back on your main system without any friction or manual file transfers. This kind of seamless cross-device experience is what modern gaming should feel like, and it's genuinely impressive when you experience it firsthand. The backward compatibility story extends even further with emulation possibilities. The Steam Deck community has created comprehensive guides for emulating everything from classic consoles to relatively recent systems: NES, SNES, Nintendo 64, GameCube, Wii, PlayStation 1 through 3, and more. Obviously, respect copyright law and only play games you legally own, but the technical capability exists for preserving and enjoying decades of gaming history on a single portable device.
All right, let's get definitive. Based on everything we've discussed, here's exactly who should buy the Nintendo Switch 2 without hesitation. If any of these descriptions match your situation, the choice is clear, and you shouldn't second-guess yourself. Buy the Switch 2 if Nintendo's exclusive franchises are non-negotiable for you. If you absolutely must play the next Zelda, Mario, Pokémon, or Metroid game, there's literally no alternative. These experiences don't exist anywhere else, and if they're central to why you love gaming, the Switch 2 is mandatory, regardless of any other considerations. Don't overthink it. Buy the device that plays the games you actually want to play most. Buy the Switch 2 if you're purchasing a gaming device for children or family use. Nintendo's ecosystem is specifically designed with families in mind. The parental controls are comprehensive, yet easy to configure. The game library is broadly appropriate for various ages. The physical durability and simple interface mean less troubleshooting and more actual gaming. The detachable Joy-Cons enable instant local multiplayer without buying additional controllers. For family gaming, nothing competes with Nintendo's thoughtful design and curated experience. Buy the Switch 2 if you prioritize simplicity and convenience over customization and power. If the thought of tweaking settings, managing storefronts, or troubleshooting compatibility issues sounds exhausting rather than exciting, Nintendo's approach will feel like a relief. Everything just works consistently. You buy a game, download it, play it. No configuration required. For people who view gaming as relaxation rather than a hobby that includes system management, the Switch 2's simplicity is genuinely valuable. Buy the Switch 2 if battery life and true portability are your highest priorities. If you need a device that lasts an entire workday or long travel sessions without requiring charging, the Switch 2's superior battery endurance makes it the obvious choice. It's also slightly smaller and lighter than the Steam Deck, which matters when you're carrying it daily in a bag or playing for extended handheld sessions. Now, here's exactly who should buy the Steam Deck instead. If these descriptions resonate with your gaming preferences and technical comfort level, the Steam Deck represents superior value and satisfaction for your specific needs. Buy the Steam Deck if you already have a substantial Steam library from years of PC gaming. If you own hundreds of games from past Steam sales and Humble Bundles, the deck instantly gives you access to that entire collection portably, without spending another dollar on software. Your existing investment immediately becomes portable, which is extraordinary value that the Switch 2 cannot possibly match. Buy the Steam Deck if you value gaming freedom and customization over curated experiences. If you enjoy tinkering with settings, installing various storefronts, running emulators, or exploring what your hardware can do beyond its intended purpose, the deck is paradise. This is a device that respects your intelligence and technical ability, giving you complete control rather than protecting you from yourself. Buy the Steam Deck if multi-platform games matter more to you than Nintendo exclusives. If you're more excited about playing Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3, or the latest indie darlings than you are about Pokémon or Mario, the deck gives you access to exponentially more games at significantly lower prices. The sheer volume and variety of experiences available through PC gaming dwarfs what Nintendo offers, especially if you're willing to explore beyond mainstream AAA titles. Buy the Steam Deck if you're price-conscious and want maximum long-term value. Despite the higher upfront cost, the combination of cheaper games, no subscription fees, and platform longevity means the deck costs significantly less over 3 to 5 years of ownership. If you're strategic about timing purchases during sales, you can build an enormous library for a fraction of what you'd spend on Nintendo games at full price. Buy the Steam Deck if you're interested in game preservation and retro gaming. The ability to emulate decades of gaming history legally means you can experience classic titles from your childhood, or explore gaming history you missed the first time around. This kind of flexibility for preserving and enjoying older games is impossible on Nintendo's closed ecosystem. Here's the perspective almost nobody discusses, but it might actually be the smartest approach depending on your circumstances. What if the right answer is neither device right now? What if the smartest move is actually waiting or considering a completely different approach to solving your portable gaming needs? Consider this. The Switch 2 doesn't launch until April 2025, and we still don't know the final price, exact specifications, launch lineup, or backward compatibility details. You're making a decision based on incomplete information and controlled marketing. History shows that new console launches often have limited game selection, hardware issues that get refined in later revisions, and prices that drop within the first year as competition increases. Similarly, the Steam Deck is likely to receive a successor announcement within the next 12 to 18 months. Valve typically operates on a 2 to 3 year hardware cycle, and the original deck launched in 2022. If you can wait just a bit longer, you might get dramatically better hardware for similar money, or see significant price drops on the current models as new versions approach announcement. There's also a third category worth considering: premium Android handheld devices like the Retroid Pocket or Ioneo products. These offer emulation capabilities rivaling or exceeding the Steam Deck at significantly lower prices, though with less power for modern PC games. If retro gaming is your primary interest, rather than current AAA titles, these alternatives deserve consideration. My honest advice? If you're genuinely torn between Switch 2 and Steam Deck, that indecision itself suggests neither device perfectly fits your needs. The right choice should feel obvious once you understand what you actually value most in gaming. If it doesn't feel obvious, maybe the smart move is patience. Wait for full reviews, real-world battery tests, and complete game library announcements before committing hundreds of dollars. All right, we've covered an enormous amount of information, so let me distill this down to the absolute essentials. Here's my final verdict after analyzing every angle of this comparison thoroughly. The Nintendo Switch 2 and Steam Deck aren't really competitors. They're different products serving different needs. The Switch 2 is a curated gaming console with exceptional exclusive games and family-friendly design. The Steam Deck is an open gaming PC with unlimited flexibility and massive library access. Neither is objectively better. They're better for different people. Choose Switch 2 if you love Nintendo franchises, prioritize simplicity, need excellent battery life, or are buying for family use. Choose Steam Deck if you value freedom and customization, already own Steam games, want maximum long-term value, or prefer PC gaming's open ecosystem. It really is that straightforward once you're honest about what you actually want from a gaming device. Personally, I think most hardcore gaming enthusiasts will find more value in the Steam Deck's openness and library size, but I also think Nintendo's exclusive games are genuinely special experiences you can't get anywhere else. And for some people, those exclusives alone justify the Switch 2's purchase despite its limitations. There's no wrong answer, only the wrong answer for you specifically. Now, here's what I need from you. Drop a comment right now telling me which device you're leaning toward and why. Are you Team Nintendo or Team Steam? What's the deciding factor for you? I read every comment, and I'm genuinely curious about your reasoning. Also, if you found this comparison valuable, hit that like button. It genuinely helps more people find this information when they're making this same difficult decision. Subscribe to this channel if you want more deep-dive gaming analysis that goes beyond surface-level specs and actually helps you make smart purchasing decisions. Click the notification bell because I'm covering the full Switch 2 reveal in April with complete specs, pricing, and launch lineup analysis. You absolutely don't want to miss that. And finally, share this video with anyone you know who's wrestling with this same choice. Send it to your gaming friends, post it in Discord servers, share it wherever gamers are debating Switch 2 versus Steam Deck. Let's help everyone make informed decisions instead of expensive mistakes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.